Welcome to Roll for Geekiness. I'm Jonathan at Tigerfire Studios.
And I'm Amanda of Villainous by Night.
And we just got back from Twin Tiers Comic-Con in Elmira, New York. We went to Twin Tiers last year, and it was a pretty good event, so we decided to give it another go.
And I would say that overall we were just as satisfied, and that was the wrong word to use, but
yeah, I would say overall the event had a lot of similarities to last year, so
yes.
Everything that was good about last year was still there.
Mm-hmm.
I think they made better use of their space this year. I guess like last year there was a little bit of dead space, kind of felt like down towards where the mall entrances into the space they use, and they definitely pushed into that space more this year. So in terms of the general flow of the overall event space and where all of the exhibitors or vendors are, that felt like better spaced out. The aisles maybe were a little wider even. Like there was just better traffic flow, and I think they made better use of their event space overall this year. So that made for a more pleasant experience.
Yeah, I think even though you and I had the impression that the attendance was probably very similar this year, the space felt much less crowded, which was nice for both just ease of movement and for someone who can get perhaps a little bit overstimulated from the amount of things to look at or try to focus on. Having things a little bit more spread out felt a little bit more manageable for me.
Yeah, and I didn't have a large prop to maneuver this year, but I did have a costume piece that limited my visibility. So having those aisles be a little wider and stuff was really great. The other change they made this year, though, too, is in the panel space or the event space, because last year they had a stage set up and lots of chairs, and this year they had the stage set up and lots of chairs and a large wrestling ring, because they were bringing in some different content this year, and that kind of dominated the event space and made it kind of push the stage off to one side, which felt a little awkward during the cosplay contest, but you know, they were trying something new, and I guess time will tell whether that's a enduring feature of the event or not.
Yeah, it's certainly not out of the norm at particularly smaller conventions, and I don't know if this is just a Northeast thing or this does speak to lots of Comic-Cons or Geek Cons of sort, that wrestling for some reason has an overlap in terms of the types of guests or events that happen. So I wasn't surprised to see that being part of it, but it did feel like a much larger part of it this year than it was last year.
Yeah, sure. And I think we're kind of used to seeing like a few old school WWE wrestlers on a guest list or whatnot, but having there actually be a wrestling ring in the event space and having that be part of their programming was a new one on us. And yeah, like I said, time will tell whether that continues to be a feature of the event. I feel like you said it sounded like they used it earlier in the day for like a cosplay death match of some sort or something along
superhero
showdown or something.
Yes.
Yeah, so it sounds like they were trying to find other creative ways to use it besides just whatever, you know, focused content might have been around some of their special guests. So that was fun. We missed that particular event, but sure.
Yeah, and even though the stage was pushed off to the side and the chairs were organized a little bit differently, I will give a ton of credit to the people running the cosplay contest again. We had a debate about this. I think maybe it felt like a little bit more in terms of number of entries this year, but in terms of number of people who ended up competing, maybe it was somewhat similar at the end of the day.
Hard to tell.
But it was a sizable number of people who competed, and there was no backstage area for them to be housed or somewhere for them to walk on to from. They were just off to the side of the main stage area, and I felt the presenters and judges did a great job of wrangling the crowd and organizing how people came up, and generally speaking it felt like it flowed pretty well.
Yeah, it flowed very well.
Which we've been to enough different events now that there's just a variety of ways that can go, and I think particularly when you have less manpower, that can go awry really quickly, and I felt like everyone did a great job of making sure that things ran smoothly.
And actually, I'll give them props too, because they did stage everybody this year. They said, if you're in the contest, go over here. Whereas last year, they were just calling people and they were coming up out of
That is true.
the audience space, and that took up time too. So that might be a part of why it's hard to estimate exactly how this year's entrant pool compared to last year's entrant pool, because it feels like the contest took about maybe the same amount of time, but there may have been more waiting time last year as people came up and went back to their seats. Yeah. And yeah, like you said, again, the contest ran very smoothly. They do a pre-judging, so they don't have to sit there and deliberate for like 20 minutes after they've seen everybody's performances or exhibitions of their costumes. They're kind of able to take all the information that they've already kind of gathered and discussed earlier in the day, apply the performance aspects, and then make a final decision. So yeah, it runs very smoothly.
I think the only thing I've noticed at other cons, and this is not a criticism, but something I think helps with this kind of situation where you have a lot of different people competing and maybe characters you're not familiar with, or original characters, is when you have the staffing to have someone who actually is at the stairs, that's when you can actually have people just hold on to their piece of paper that they filled out, hand it to someone when they go up on stage, and that way you don't have to worry about pulling people out of the crowd or pulling them out of a mass of people if everyone who's competing actually holds on to their character sheet and hands it to someone who then says, and next we have blah blah blah. And I think that's worked well at other cons we've seen do that, when people hand their paper over if you've got that kind of arrangement. But that's just a thought that might make it a little easier. And that way too, if someone's on stage and the next person hands their piece of paper and you can't read it or you don't know what this is, you have a moment to say, how do you pronounce that? What is this? And it just maybe helps with the overall, once again, flow of things. Certainly didn't take away from anything that they did things the way that they did. It's just something I've noticed at other small cons when people are just responsible for holding on to their own character sheet. It makes things, and then hand it over right during judging, it makes the things a little bit smoother.
You also end up not calling up people who've actually already left.
Yes, which is a little bit awkward.
Happened this year, and it happened last year too, but happened a little bit more this year than last year. I think there were only 1 or 2 last year, whereas this year it felt like there were 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see it both ways. So
yeah, I don't think like I said, it's not a criticism, and I don't think there's an ideal way to do this. It's just one way, particularly when you do have people who might bow out last minute, or you have people, because the criteria for the contest is pretty wide, you have people coming with original characters or things that might be out of the box thinking, and being able to have someone sort that out before that person gets on stage might be helpful in a situation like that, versus a straight up like craftsmanship contest where you expect the characters are maybe recognizable or pulled from certain.
Right. That is fair.
Yeah. Just a side note, I still think they did just a great job this year. Ran very smoothly.
Event overall ran smoothly. Cosplay contest ran smoothly.
Yeah. So, thumbs up.
Keep doing the things, Twin Tears.
Oh, I remembered my side note. So my side note was that if you do follow Twin Tears on social media, they do actually post their schedule a few days ahead of time, and they do, like a lot of cons do, and post their guests and events over time as you get closer to the event. But I really appreciate that they sent out a schedule so I knew what to expect and where things would be happening, etc.
I always appreciate the events that have their schedule done before the event.
I'm sure a lot of them have it done before the event, but when it's shared
have
publicly,
it posted.
That's always nice.
Yeah. That way you can plan on your way there. or even before you get there.
Yes. So kudos to them for doing that as well. Good job. Yeah, I think we see ourselves going back in the future. It was an enjoyable event, and well done. Till next time.